Hey everybody, I am going to be planting some of the beds that I cleared out today, which is really exciting. I've got some onion starts that I ordered and I'm going to show you those. They are so cute. But here's the plan that I have for this bed. This is one of my long beds. It's actually the longest bed, and this one is 32 feet long. I have added a third irrigation line into the middle here. I only had two. I had one on this side and one on this side just because of the way I had it planted this summer, and this was kind of a last minute job that I did. I hadn't planned on installing irrigation yet, but then later decided to. It was really hard to fish it through all of the plants that I had growing here, so I just did two runs, one on one side and one on the other. But now that I have all the plants out, I've added a middle one, which I think is going to work much better, especially for germinating seeds and things. They really need a lot of direct moisture. So I think once the plants get established and their roots spread out, you know, these middle parts aren't going to be as big of a deal. But anyway, I've got this whole thing cleared out. So here's my plan for this bed. I'm going to be planting potatoes on this half, on this side, all the way down. And then in the middle, I'm going to be planting a long row or two of carrots. And then next to the carrots, probably in the middle here, I'm going to be planting a row of beets. And then finally on this far edge, right next to this last irrigation line, I'll be planting my onion starts. I cleaned out my shed last weekend, which I am so excited about. It had gotten to be such a wreck over the gardening season this summer. I was just trying to go as fast as I could and balance all of this gardening with work and travel and all of that. So I just was throwing tools in here and there was dirt everywhere. So I took everything out and I swept it and I organized all my tools. So I'm feeling very proud of it. It's not perfect, but at least it's manageable now. And I need to go get some fertilizer so that I can plant those onions. If y'all want to see my lovely shed, it's really small in here. I've got it so packed with all of my equipment, my lawnmower and my seeder and Shreddy Kruger and my wagon, and way back there is my tiller that I use just occasionally when I'm doing a new bed. But I've also saved all of these old window screens from when we got our windows replaced, because these are awesome for when you want to save seeds and you need to spread them out and dry them, cure garlic, onions, stuff like that. So those are really handy. But what I came in here for was this blood meal. So this is an organic blood meal. So I'm going to grab that. I've had my onion starts for almost a week. I picked them up last Saturday from the post office and they are so adorable. I think that the tag in the box said that you've got about 3 weeks before really you need to start worrying about them being good. So I'm going to try to get these into the ground today, and hopefully I will have an epic onion harvest to tell you about in just a few months. But look how adorable these are. I love using onion starts much more than sets or seeds. They're just so convenient. Somebody else has done the work of starting the seeds for you, and then they lift them, bundle them up, and send them to you. So all you have to do is plant them in the ground. I am so excited about all of these little onion starts. I'm going to show you the varieties that I got, but in case you're wondering and you want to order some for yourself, I order mine from Dixondale Farms, and I have had the best luck with them. Our address is really tricky. For whatever reason, it is not recognized by most of the services that shipping departments use to ship out packages, and so we'll usually get a call just to verify the address because their system won't recognize it. So it's kind of a pain, but Dixondale Farms, every time I order from them, I get a personal phone call from their order department, which is really cool, and just to verify that they're sending it to the right place, and I really appreciate that. But they come and they're so neat and tidy. Let me show you. And I got a bunch of different varieties. Let's see. I have 5 bunches, and they're all different kinds. So I got the red Creole, and this one is the Texas Super Sweet, and I've also got a yellow Granix, and let me turn this tag around, and this is the Texas Early White. Oh, and I also have the white Bermuda. I think that's all of them. They're so cute though. They're just little tiny onions, And I explained this in my previous onion video, but the grower will start the seed and let it get to a certain size, and then they pull them and they bunch them up and they send them to you. And the plant usually has about 3 weeks of headway based upon the energy that it's stored in this tiny little bulb. So all you do is just plant these. I have a video I did a couple of months ago that goes really in depth with how to plant onions, how to support them well while they're growing, and then how to harvest them. And you can check that out if you'd like. I will link it right here. As I plant these onions today, I am going to take you along with me and just give you some basic reminders in case you have some onion starts that you want to pop in the ground. So let's go do that right now. This is organic blood meal, in case you were wondering. This is a good source of nitrogen if you're looking for an organic natural source. I don't know if you can see this, but it says 12-0-0. So that means that it is all nitrogen and no phosphorus or potassium. So I will be side dressing my onions. So what I'll do is I will dig a trench about 6 inches away from where I put the onion starts, and I will put that in the trench, cover it up, and it will be gradually released over the growing season for those onions. But if you plant onions, you don't need to add nitrogen again, because you want the plant to be focusing on bulb growth and root development, not leafy tops. All right, so I'm gonna start planting these onion transplants. So what I'll do first is dig a trench about 4 inches deep. I'm going to add phosphorus fertilizer to the trench, about 1/2 cup per 10 linear feet. Then I will cover that with 2 to 3 inches of soil, put the transplants right on top of that, and then I should have just enough room to cover them with 1 inch of soil. When you plant your onion transplants, make sure that you only plant them 1 inch deep, but at least 1 inch deep. Kind of like Goldilocks, they need it just 1 inch, no more, no less, just perfect. Now, since phosphorus, that middle number on the fertilizer bag, is good for root development, I'm going to be adding that as well, and I will explain that as I go. So as I said, it's 1/2 cup of fertilizer per 10 linear feet. So I'm just going to measure out 1 cup of this high phosphorus fertilizer, and I'm going to use my tape measure because I am not great at geometry or distances, so I want to make sure I don't add too much or too little, and I'm going to put this in the trench. So I've got my trench dug about 4 inches, and I've got my tape measure out right here all the way down. I've marked it out to 10 feet, and I ended up pouring 1/2 of my fertilizer back because I only need 1/2 cup per 10 linear foot row. So I want to make sure that I've got just what I need so I can distribute it evenly. So I'm going to just sprinkle that in now all the way down. All right, so this is what it looks like. I've got it all the way down. So now I'm just going to cover it with a couple of inches of soil. So that way I can just then place my onions right on top, and I don't have to worry about them getting burned, but they have ready access to all of that high phosphorus fertilizer. And then I'm also going to add a trench here for the nitrogen fertilizer, and I'll do that next. All right, now I have my trench prepared. I've got my fertilizer, my phosphorus fertilizer in the trench where the onions are going to go. I covered them with a couple of inches of soil, and now I'm going to place my adorable little onions. So this is the fun part. So I will show you how I do the first couple, and then I'm going to do the whole row. Like, look how cute those are. They're just little babies. And so much easier than starting from seed. Although I did start some from seed because I can't help myself. So I'm going to place it. And if you need help with a tape measure, no judgment here, because I am always using that. And what I like to do is just do the first couple. And here's my tape measure. And that way I can kind of eyeball the spacing. So there's the first one. I know it's a little crooked, but you get the idea. Here's the second one. So that's about 4 inches apart. So I've placed the first two. Here's the first and then the second one. This is about 4 inches apart. So I'm gonna do that all the way down, and then once I get finished, then I will just cover these like this. And then that is all I have to do. And then I'll just water them in really well once I get finished with that. Another really important thing that I forgot to mention before I started is that if you have really dry soil, you might want to flood this trench before you start. So maybe the night before or the morning of, just a few hours before, so that the soil is not gloopy and muddy, but it's nice and moist. So you want to put the hose on low because you don't want to blast the soil out. And you just turn it on low and you put it at the end of the trench and let it flood the trench a little bit until it reaches the point where it stops. And then you know you need to move the hose down a little bit so that you can do the next section, and so on and so forth until you've got your soil nice and moist and prepped for your onions. I didn't have to do that this time because I've got the irrigation line right over top where I was putting my trench, so it was already really nice and moist. But if you don't have an irrigation line, that is a really simple way to do it. I had no idea it was going to be this warm today. I think I'm going to have to do a wardrobe change, but now I'm just going to water in all of these onions, and they should be nice and cozy and ready to grow. I want to make sure that I water them in really well, even though the soil was moist as I told you, but I want to get the trench that the nitrogen fertilizer is in, and I also want to get the tops of the onions to make sure that that phosphorus fertilizer starts getting nice and incorporated into the soil. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me and for planting onions with me. I hope that you plant some onions of your own this season. They're so easy and fresh onions are so delicious. I'm Kara from So, Arizona. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy gardening.